What's up, guys? You asked for it. How do we farm these uber uniques so fast, and how are we getting to do more Duriel runs than really most players? And it really comes down to efficiency. So this video is going to be the ultimate endgame boss guide to actually gain faster Duriel runs, which essentially is going to be 4 times faster than your average player, and even further beyond that. And I'll kind of explain why, and I'll show you guys a bunch of tips and tricks. So starting right off, in order to get some of these uber uniques, it just requires tons and tons of runs. And how are we getting these runs done super fast? Well, there's a really great boss guide over here, and we'll get into it in a second. But the first thing before anything comes into play is efficiency. Efficiency is what's going to get you these uber uniques. So I want to go ahead and start off the video with the efficiency. So what you definitely want to do is join some sort of a Diablo group. I happen to have a stream, so people come in all the time. They're like, hey dude, you want to do Duriel runs? And I'm like, I'm there. So that is a really great way. So you can go to other streamers and say, hey, I've got a bunch of runs. Do you want to run some? And sometimes I will invite people just to fill up the entire lobby if I've got the materials for Duriel or any of these uber bosses. But one of the easiest Discord groups that you can join that's going to get your runs done as fast as possible is the official Diablo Sanctuary Discord. Now, once you go ahead and go in there, and if you're on console, there's different forums, there's different places that you can find other people. Heck, there's Facebook groups that do this as well, okay? So it doesn't have to be this one, but this is just the one that's the most popular. So once you go into the Sanctuary Discord, make sure that you select, if you're playing hardcore or softcore, are you doing season, non-season, and you just want to go into this section called, this one is SC, so that's softcore, LFG, looking for group bosses. And in this group, you will see people posting LFG Duriel, and then they post their battle tag. So you would add them on Discord or on Battle.net, and then you would do what's called a rota. Look for people that are saying LFG Duriel boss run rota. So what rota stands for is rotation. So that means I have the materials to do a Duriel run, we do mine, then we're going to do yours, and then we're going to do the rest of the people in the group. This essentially is 4 Duriel runs instead of 1. That is massive, but I want to go further than that, because what I always do as a content creator, and other people can do this even if you're not a content creator, but always fill up your group. If you happen to have, let's say, 3 people ready, and even if the other person doesn't have materials, maybe you did runs with them in the past. Just invite them to the group. But also make sure that you're selecting someone that is in the same, like, softcore or seasonal or non-seasonal. Like, for example, the little leaf indicates the person is playing on seasonal, and if they have the little like skull with a hood on it, like you can see on the bottom racks over here, he's always playing hardcore, so I could not invite him. Hardcore and softcore players cannot combine their parties, and non-seasonal and seasonal cannot combine. So always fill up your group. This is an easy way to make friends and get these runs continuously going, because even if they don't have the materials, they may invite you to a group later down the line, and some of their friends may have multiple runs, and you just made a new friend. This is the best way to actually get hundreds of Duriel runs in versus just doing, let's say, like 20 or 30. You get 4 times if you are doing rota instead of 1 time. That is the biggest, huge advantage to get these uber uniques done as fast as possible. But I also wanted this video to serve as a purpose of how are we getting these runs done super fast. I'll show you guys a bunch of tips and tricks, as well as going over the full mechanic, because I get asked all the time, Slayer, what are these requirements to do some of these bosses? So let's go ahead and break it down. There are 5 uber bosses in the game, and each one of them drops something different. The main important ones that you're going to want to do, though, are specifically doing Grigore, as well as doing Echo of Varshan. So the purple, the orange, as well as Echo of Duriel, the green. So those are the ones that really matter. The rest of them, it depends on the class that you're playing, and you may not even want to farm them at all if they don't actually drop anything. But you have to do Varshan, and you have to do Grigore, and Echo of Duriel is how you get these uber uniques to actually drop. Technically, as long as the monster's level 85, they can drop anywhere. But in reality, I've been playing for 1,000+ hours. I have not gotten one uber unique outside of doing the Echo of Duriel. So that's your best bet. So let's go ahead and start off with the first one, Echo of Varshan, because each one of these requires several steps to actually get to the next part, which then gives you another piece to actually do Duriel. So we'll go in the order of Echo of Varshan. So how do we do this? And by the way, just do this at World Tier 4. Don't bother doing World Tier 3. The drops are going to be much worse, okay? So what you want to do is you want to consistently farm these bosses. So Echo of Varshan, what are the requirements? So obviously this is just an endgame guide. If you're like level 5, don't expect to do any of these. This is for like endgame. Once you're like level 75+, you can start to these. Although Echo of Duriel will be quite hard at level 75. Usually there can be like one person that can carry in a group. Depends on, of course, the class that you're playing. But make sure that someone can actually carry, because there have been times where people join groups and they do 0 damage and they expect everyone to be the carry, and there is no carry and you can't get it done. So make sure there is someone that is going to be able to do the Echo of Duriel. The rest of them are actually pretty easy. Nonetheless, Echo of Varshan, here's what you need. So you need materials. We got Gurgling Head, we need the Malignant Heart, Trembling Hand, Blackened Femur. So you need 4 parts, and these are actually quite easy to get. You just have to do the Whispers, but you can also get these by just playing the game and being in the open world. Specifically in the vampire areas, there can be these monsters that spawn in that can drop those materials. Or if you're at a world boss, sometimes at the very end of the world boss, they just slam out some extra monsters and you can get the materials. So the main core way to do it is to do the Grim Favors, though, to get the Tree of Whispers. You'll see on the map, there's these little things, and you could just do the objective, and once you reach 10 Grim Favors, you can turn them in, and you'll get some sort of a part. So that's how you actually get the parts required for doing Varshan. Now, where is Varshan located? He is located right next to where you would turn in at the Tree of Whispers. So you would go to the Malignant Burrow. Again, we'll have the map over here. So it's in like the middle right side of the map. You just go to the Malignant Burrow. You go in and it's going to require all of the things. Once you put in all the things, you would summon the boss. I'm not going to go over any of the gameplay of the boss. If you guys are interested in the gameplay of the boss and finding out like, oh, what does this boss actually drop? Because it depends on the class that you're playing, and I would really recommend you guys to watch my video that goes over all of this, and I will also have this pinned down below. If you're interested in seeing the boss gameplay or wondering what the boss drops for what class that would actually be good, I will have that pinned down below. But this is where you would go, you put in the materials, and most of these will have some sort of an area. You don't just walk in and the boss is right there. You'll have to go and kill a few monsters. I'm not going to show, the full walkthrough of it. It's kind of redundant, but it's almost like a small little dungeon. It's very quick. Some of them are bigger than others, like the Beast of Ice is a little bit extensive, but for the most part, you go into the area, you walk in, and eventually at the very end, there's the boss, and then you put in the materials, and you're good to go. Now, there are a couple of other bonus tips and tricks that I want to give you guys. So, starting right off with Varshan, you can go to the potion vendor, the one that crafts all the elixirs, and you can actually swap some of the pieces. So, like, if you are missing, let's say, the Blackened Femur or the head, you can transfer your Malignant Hearts to that. Now, it's better to actually trade on Discord because people will trade at a better ratio. You can also use your gold to go to different trade websites and just trade your gold for whatever piece that you need. But for the most part, Varshan is not really something that is too big of a deal. You should be able to consistently slam these out by just kind of playing the game. It's mostly the Living Steel, which is the other thing that you have to wait on the Hell Tides to actually get the good currency. So, speaking of the Hell Tide, the most important thing is actually the Hell Tides this season, and that is because these have kind of a cap on when you can do them. So we already explained Echo Varshan, and he also can drop some of these cosmetics. I'm just going to go over the cosmetics real quick, because some people have asked, how do I get this certain cosmetic that I have equipped maybe on my mount? And these cosmetics are only droppable by the Uber bosses. I do happen to have some of them, but for the most part, some of them are quite rare. I've been doing tons of Duriel runs, and I still don't have the Duriel mount. That one's actually one of the coolest ones, but I've got pretty much the rest of them. So some cosmetics are only tied to the Uber bosses. Not only do you get the items, which is the most important thing, but of course the cosmetics are there too. So now that we went over Echo Varshan, let's go into Grigore, the Galcanic Saint. So you require Living Steel to actually do this boss. Now, I know in World Tier 3 it requires less, but trust me, you want to do the higher one because you do want to get those materials. So these will drop shards. You're going to require 2 shards to actually do Duriel. And also with Echo Varshan, that boss, when you defeat him, will drop the Mucus Slick Egg. So you need 2 eggs and 2 shards to do Duriel. So that means 2 Echoes of Varshan, 2 Grigores, and then that will give you 1 Duriel run. So this is why Duriel is the most important. The rest of them, it doesn't really matter too much at all. So in order to get the Living Steel, because that's where it's required to do Grigore, you're going to be doing the Tortured Offering in the Hell Tide. So these are located all across the map. The Hell Tide is actually up right now, so that's perfect for the video. So Hell Tide is not always up. It's up every 1 hour and 15 minutes, and on every hour on the hour, it resets its location. So let's say right now it's 3:56 p.m., but at 4 p.m., the area may rotate and some of these chests may change. What you're specifically looking for are these purple chest. The purple chest is going to have the living steel. It costs 300 cinders to actually open these up. And there is like a small little boss that you have to fight, but it's really no big deal. You just click on the chest, then the boss, you'll fight him. He's an absolute cakewalk, and then you will get your living steel. You can get more than 3 on it, but it is quite rare. But yeah, this area can rotate. And if you go to helltides.com, which is the website that we're using right here, it shows you where all the locations are. The orange little circles, that's where events are. Ideally, you try to farm like in a triangle, like 3 or 4 events. You just keep on cycling through them. It's going to give you obols. It's going to give you cinders. It's probably one of the best ways to farm the Helltide because the monsters come to you. So you want to get these purple chests. And the most important thing is specifically just going for the purple chest. You can do this in a group. It's very efficient to do this in a group. Or if you don't even party up with people, if anything dies in the area, you will get these cinders that would drop from the monsters. And you don't have to fight over them because everyone gets their own loot, which is awesome. But here's what it looks like. You'll see that there's a tortured gift of living steel. You try to open it up, the boss will fight you, kill him, cost 300, and you get your living steel. That's how that works with Grigore. And then in terms of locations of all of the bosses here, because I want to show you guys all locations. So Grigore is located in the top left over here in the Hall of the Penitent. Again, you'll have to kill some monsters, and at the very end, that's where you actually fight him. So next up over here, after you do Grigore, Lord Zir. So Lord Zir, you just fight him by getting Exquisite Blood, and you can get Exquisite Blood by doing Legion events. You can also get it from the World Boss. But again, you're pretty much looking for Echo Varshan and Grigore and Duriel. Lord Zir is kind of like something that most people don't really care about. But if you want to actually fight him, this is where Lord Zir is. He's basically above the area where you would do the Malignant Boss, which is Varshan. You just go there and you just go up a little bit and you'll see the Ancient's Seat. So this is where you would actually fight that boss. Next up over here, we've got Beast in Ice. So Beast in Ice, in order to actually acquire it, what you're going to do is you're going to do Nightmare Dungeon. So it requires tier 30 plus in terms of Nightmare Dungeons. And it will also require Sigil Powder. So you can acquire Sigil Powder by dismantling your sigils that you aren't using. So if you see over here, when you craft sigils, you're going to craft what's called the Glacial Fissure, which is a tier 31. You open it up and it costs Distilled Fear. Again, you'll get Distilled Fear. It's not 100% by the way. If you just do Nightmare Dungeons tier 30 or higher, and this has a cap, you can only hold 50. So make sure that you have all this inventory space for all of these items because, well, if you happen to not have inventory space, you will just straight up lose out on the item. And then Beast in Ice is over here in pretty much the middle. This is Glacial Fissure. So if we zoom out right here, it's in Fractured Peaks. So it's right here. So this is where you would go to do the Beast in Ice. And the last and most important one is going to be Duriel. So to do Duriel, it requires as materials Mucus Slick Egg ×2 and Shards of Agony ×2. These are required by doing the other bosses. So Echo of Varshan will drop the Mucus Slick Egg, and the Shards of Agony are required via Grigore. That's why in the very beginning of the video I was saying Echo of Varshan and Grigore are the 2 most important bosses to actually defeat. Now, the player that actually puts these in, as in the person that actually puts the items inside of the altars for the items over here, are the ones that will actually get the actual drop. Not your entire party will be getting these A's consistently every single time. It's mostly the person that actually puts in the material to actually acquire these. So what this means is you have to do, on average, whoever puts it in, okay, gets to get a egg every single time. On average, most time they'll be getting an egg. So that means you got to do 2 Echoes of Varshan, 2 Grigores, and then that equals 1 Echo of Duriel. So that's how we actually do Duriel. Go over the location of that one. So Echo of Duriel is in the bottom left over here, and it is in the Gaping Crevice. Alright guys, I'm going to give you some free extra bonus pro tips to get extra free runs. There's also how to not get scammed, because there are scammers out there, and this has been something that people are complaining about, you know, on Reddit, where people are scamming. So, what I mean by the scammers here is there are people that will join the Rota runs, meaning that you're going to rotate. Like one person does it, another person does it, and you all kind of rotate out. And some of these runs, what people will do is like, oh, I got 10 Duriel runs. Join if you've got 10. So you have 3 other people that got 10 runs. And then one person, they've got 0 runs, or they have not the same amount. And what they'll do is they'll open up one, and they expect you to open up all of them, whatever the case may be. Sometimes players literally don't even have any openings, and they expect, again, the other people to open. And that is kind of frustrating. So one method that you can solve this method method is by actually linking the item that you have in the chat. So if you hold shift and left click on your inventory, what you can do is you can link the item, and you can tell everyone link your items. And this is a little bit more difficult to scam this way, but for the most part, I wouldn't say this is an issue, but I'm just here to give you guys all the information. And this is another bonus tip. What can happen with this, if you link, let's say you've got 3 eggs and you've got an additional like 3 shards or 4 shards, but you're missing 1 egg. One person in the party might notice that and say, hey, I've got an extra egg. Or you can ask, hey, anyone got 1 more egg, 1 more shard? I've got my eggs. Does anyone have the shards? Does anyone have the shards? I've got the eggs. Whatever the case may be, you can get additional runs because you can put your pool of resources together. Another thing is that you can throw the items in the ground. Anyone in the party can pick them up. I would recommend doing this inside right when you're trying to activate the Uber boss. So that way, you know, it's just right there, because when you open up the trade menu, it's clunky, it's slow, and on top of that, you have to be right next to them. So the best way to, like, you know, combine your materials and hopefully not get scammed, I understand it can be a way where you can get scammed, is, you know, you throw the item on the ground, the person picks it up, they leave, and they go do, you know, the Uber runs with their friends. That generally doesn't happen. Most people in the community aren't going to be out there to scam. But another way you can get additional Duriel runs, and I literally just did this. So I sat right outside of where Duriel actually spawns. Now, this mainly works if you're a high level, and you can even say, hey, I can carry Duriel. Does anyone need some help on Duriel? Just in the all chat, or just stand right outside. A lot of times people will see you and then they'll be like, okay, this guy's level 100. I'm going to invite him to the party. Sometimes people will legitimately just invite random people. I stood outside. I never said anything. They just invited me. And yeah, we were able to take down the boss run. They died multiple times. But I'm able to solo carry the Duriel, no problem. And this could be another way that you can get free runs. So you can advertise in the Discord or other forums. You can say, hey, I carry Duriel. And what's great with this method, by being able to actually be the carry, is you will get invited to a lot of other groups, because they'll just be like, okay, this guy, he can carry, he can one-shot the Duriel. It saves everyone some time, and therefore you can get basically free additional runs without the materials. Or if you happen to need a carry, you can kind of wait outside here, and this is another way where, like, let's say you're level, like, you know, 50 or whatever, and you cannot kill Duriel. You can say, hey, can anyone carry Duriel? There's usually a lot of people. You can see there's, over here in the screenshot, there's like another level 100. There are people out there that will just sit in front of their, being the carries, or looking for someone else to do the carrying for them. So keep that in mind as you are trying to min-max and trying to get as many Duriel runs as possible. But there it is, guys. Those are all the pro bonus tips, as well as how to get basically min-maxing and get as many runs as possible. And also on the live stream, I always invite you guys. I always try to fill it up. So if I am live, so we got, I think 7 runs, 7 Duriel runs. So if any of you guys want to join, let me know in the chat. And we are doing Duriel runs. If there's extra room, you guys are always welcome to join up. Try to prioritize people that do happen to have extra opens of the runs, but always try to fill it up. That way, you know, you can kind of pay it forward, invite people that you see just right outside, and you will get more runs in the future. You can maybe make a friend. They'll say, hey, this guy just randomly invited me. I've got a bunch of materials. I'm going to invite him back. So it's kind of like a Rift It Forward, if you remember from Diablo 3. But those are the tips for you guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell so you don't miss out on more awesome Diablo content. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.